Here at Joselito, we're proud of our inheritance. Over a century's worth of tradition within our family. We monitor the cured ham production cycle completely from beginning to end. From livestock, genetics and nutrition, through salting to curing, to maturing in our cellars. When it comes to quality, we believe that only the best will do. Given that the top chefs, food writers and lovers of good food all over the globe have declared Joselito ham to be the best in the world, they clearly agree with us. In the following guide to carving, handling and storing Joselito cured ham, we share some of our best kept secrets with you. We show you how to carve a whole ham so that you get the best and most out of every bit of it, and enjoy all the inimitable nuances and subtleties that make Joselito cured ham such a gastronomic treat. All Joselito hams are obtained from pigs of the Iberico breed that have been fed on acorns, grass and other natural products of the dehesa, wooded pasture land, where they range freely. As a result, they have certain distinctive characteristics that are discernible even from the outside. A Joselito ham is a long, elegant shape with a slender foreleg, black hoof, V-shaped incision, and fat that oozes when pressed with the fingers. Each ham also bears an identity tag and another tamper-proof one that shows not only the serial number ID, but also the year the ham started its curing process, like the system used for vintage wines. This enables our consumers to appreciate the end result of the long, slow curing and maturation processes. Parts of the ham. There are 4 different areas on a ham, each with different characteristics. The round side of the ham, the matha, is the juiciest part and the one on which there is most meat. The barbilla, the side opposite the matha, is narrower and usually more thoroughly cured. This is the leanest and least juicy part of the ham. The punta, the wide end of the ham at the opposite end to the hoof, is full of flavor and rich in fat content. The cordillo, in the upper part of the matha, is particularly delicious, very sweet and aromatic. The place where the ham is to be sliced must be clean, safe and convenient to work in. A ham stand is essential for slicing ham properly. It must be positioned at a comfortable hand height for the carver and be perfectly level and stable. Ham stands come in various models, and it's important to find the type best suited to your needs. It is vital that it holds the ham firmly and that its base is non-slip. 3 types of knife are needed for carving a Joselito cured ham. A long flexible knife, a ham knife used for slicing. A serrated knife, like a bread knife, used for removing the skin. A short, sturdy knife with a pointed tip, a boning knife, used for making precise cuts in the more angular parts and for the important task of separating ham from the bone. You will also need a sharpening steel. This is essential for keeping knives sharp. Good, well-maintained tools will enable you to carve smoothly and effortlessly. For those times when presentation is particularly important, tongs can be used for arranging cut slices on a serving dish. The first thing is to decide where to start cutting your Joselito ham. If it is going to be eaten quickly, the matha is the place to start, securing the ham in its stand with the hoof facing upwards. However, if the ham is likely to be eaten more slowly, as is generally the case at home, it is better to start at the barbilla, the reason being that this is the least fatty part of the ham and will therefore tend to dry out sooner than the rest. The recommended carving temperature is around 25 degrees centigrade. For the flavors and aromas of a Joselito ham to be enjoyed to the full, it should be kept at that temperature for a few days before carving, approximately 2 weeks. The first step is to use the serrated knife to make an incision around the foreleg in the narrow part of the ham, near the bone. This part is tough, so a firm hand is needed. Remove the skin by slicing towards the previous crosswise cut. Make sure that you always keep your free hand behind and above the knife to avoid cutting yourself. Wearing a chainmail glove provides extra protection. Once the skin has been removed, the outer layers of deep yellow-colored fat must be cut away. Always start at the hoof end and slice towards the thigh bone. If the whole Joselito ham is to be eaten within the same day, the skin and fat can be removed completely. This makes it easier to carve. However, if it is to be eaten over a longer period, you should only cut away the skin and fat from the part that is to be eaten immediately, leaving the rest in place as protection against the effects of exposure to the air. Several of the slices cut from the first layers of white fat should be set aside. They will come into play later as protection for the ham once you have finished slicing. It is very important for the cut area of the ham to be clean and clearly delineated so that it can be covered to prevent its drying out and taking on a rancid taste. Be sure not to remove any white fat from the interior. Joselito ham's healthy fats are the source of its marvelous flavor, in which the combination of fat and lean is a key element. This fat is aromatic, full of flavor, delicately juicy, and furthermore, good for you. Start cutting in the part known as the matha. Use the ham knife intended for slicing. Beneath the first layer of fat is the lean meat, liberally marbled with fat. When you reach the thigh bone, use the boning knife to cut decisively around the bone so that you can separate it from the ham. This will make it easier to extract slices from this part of the joint. As the bone reappears at surface level, repeat the same operation. Continue cutting slices from the surface you started with and from the new surface, the punta that has appeared behind the bone. The blade of the knife should be pressed firmly against the ham, and the back and forth slicing movement should be slow and rhythmic without you ever having to exert force. If the knife is properly sharpened, it will glide along easily and respond to a light touch, rather like playing the violin. All your freehand has to do is to take away the cut slices. Remember to keep it above and behind the knife blade. The aim is to achieve small, thin slices, some 4 to 5 centimeters long. All the slices should contain enough lean and fat meat for the flavor to be enjoyed to the full. The cut surface must always be flat and perfectly horizontal, without any steps or curves. The next bone that you come to as you carry on slicing is the femur. Once you have finished this part, turn the ham over in its stand, placing it with the hoof facing downwards. Start with the babilla. This is the narrower part of the ham, and it contains less fat. In consequence, it will have matured more rapidly than the wider matha. Begin by cutting away skin and fat, just as you did with the matha, though in this case less fat should be removed. We recommend that you cut slices that incorporate a little edging of outer fat to make them more appetizing. Turn the ham over again and continue slicing the punta. The codillo in the upper part of the ham is a particularly flavorful part of the joint and can be cut either into chunks or slices. When you reach the meniscus, use the boning knife to separate the bone from the ham. You will then be able to extract new slices without difficulty. Once you have finished carving the ham to obtain slices, turn your attention to its more muscular parts. The meat from these can be cut into taquitos, lardons, which can either be eaten as they are or used in cooking. Superfluous fat, white only, can also be used to add extra flavor to all sorts of dishes. It's a favorite with top restaurant chefs for that reason. Even the bone, despite having been picked completely bare, is an excellent source of flavor for meat and vegetable soups, stews and stock. For that sort of use, it is usually sawn into medium-sized pieces, which can even be frozen for future use. Joselito ham storage. Store your Joselito ham in a cool, dry place, away from direct sunlight, unless you intend eating it right away. If the ham is going to be eaten within 1 month, store it at a temperature of around 25 degrees centigrade. If it is to be kept for longer, it should be stored at around 15 degrees centigrade. A ham should preferably be stored hanging up so that it's not in contact with any surfaces. Remove its wrapping paper and hang it up, uncovered, to air. Once a ham has been started, it is very important to store it properly to prevent it from drying out. This is where the slices of outer fat, which was set aside earlier, come into service. Stick the slices of fat onto the exposed surface of the ham, like a second skin. Next, wrap it tightly in position with cling film. This prevents contact with the air, and the fat will continue to feed the surface of the ham. Make sure that the whole of the cut surface is well covered by slices of fat. Leaving slices of ham exposed to the atmosphere must be avoided at all costs. Always try to cut just as much as you need, and don't cut it until just before it is to be eaten. Joselito ham is a completely natural product with very special qualities. The fact that it is free from additives and preservatives means that it needs to be handled in a particular way and kept in conditions that are suitable as regards temperature, ventilation, and moisture. A ham is considered to have been well carved when it has yielded as much meat as possible and provided access to the finer points of its flavors and aromas. Carving cured ham is an art that improves with practice and needs to be done calmly and quietly. Enjoy the ritual and pay close attention to all the steps in the guide to ensure that you experience Joselito ham at its very best. Slices should be arranged on a plate so that they overlap slightly, not too far apart, but not heaped on top of each other either. Slices should be thin and almost translucent, shiny, aromatic, and juicy. A good carver will also manage to cut slices in which the typically Iberico fat and lean are represented. This is what gives the succulence and excellence that characterize our ham. Serve at a temperature of around 25 degrees centigrade. When starting a ham which is to be eaten completely and immediately, it is a good idea to combine slices from different parts of the piece. That makes it possible to recognize and revel in the different aromas and nuances contained within each part of the ham. Carving sometimes reveals white specks within the meat. These appear as a result of long curing and could be said to represent a quality guarantee. Technically speaking, they are crystallizations produced by precipitation of tyrosine, an amino acid found in meat, brought about by the difference between the extremes of temperature that occur naturally in our cellars during the long curing process undergone by Joselito hams. These marks indicate positive attributes and should never be discarded. A Joselito ham weighing around 8 to 9 kilos will yield an average of 50 servings weighing 80 grams each. Joselito cured ham is a unique product, a prime example of a foodstuff at the top of the gastronomic range. In dietary terms, it is very healthy and nutritious. Because our animals are fed on 100% natural foods, mainly acorns, Joselito ham accumulates beneficial fatty acids, primarily oleic acid that is also found in olive oil. Furthermore, it is rich in vitamins, natural antioxidants, and quercetin, which lower the risk of cardiovascular diseases, help reduce cholesterol levels, and provide protection against arteriosclerosis. Top chefs, food critics, and other discerning palates all over the world agree that Joselito cured ham is in a class of its own. Available at top-of-the-range gourmet food stores and the best restaurants worldwide. Joselito, more than a brand, a legend.